Can I get your hat on as the former mayor of Dubbo Regional Council? How are you, Mathew Dickerson?
Good, thanks, Richard.
Code of conduct, does it work?
They're a bit of a toothless tiger. In my time on council, 12 years I was there on council.
Did you ever get a code of conduct against you?
Never had one that I...
You're not an angel.
Well, I am, Richard. I'm an absolute angel, but you don't actually know about it unless it actually progresses. So you can have 20 code of conducts against you, and if they're just dismissed as frivolous complaints, you don't even know about them. But no, I don't know any code of conduct that was put against me in my time. And our council, because we used to report every quarter how many code of conducts were lodged, not who they were against, because that would be...
To whom do you report?
That used to report to the public. So we used to, in our council meetings every quarter, the general manager of the council at the time would put forward a report to say there were 0 or 1 code of conducts lodged against any councillors in the last, or any code of conducts at all, because it could be against stuff.
What's a frivolous code of conduct?
Someone could say, I saw Richard Perno, who was a councillor, down the street talking to someone and he used a swear word. I mean, it's something where you're trying to attack someone.
Bitchiness.
Well, you can use that word if you like.
That's just somebody not liking somebody else, and you can't have that.
Well, and what would happen in a process would be they wouldn't go any further. So in other words, you could lodge thousands.
It's mentioned in court, isn't it, or in chamber?
Well, this is the thing, that you would bring forward, what we used to do is we would bring forward the number of code of conduct complaints, but it was never about who they were unless they'd progressed. In other words, there was 10 code of conducts.
You could get a bunch of councillors ganging up against you, couldn't you? And say,
correct.
Listen, that Dickerson, he's a dick. I don't want to talk. I don't like him. Let's follow him and see if he does anything. And you could get 4 or 5 councillors ganging up against you.
Correct. And if they were lodged and they were deemed to be frivolous, the public would never know that they were against you.
The name isn't named.
The name isn't named. Right. So the way we used to do it was we would report how many code of conducts were lodged, but not anything about it unless they progressed. And then when they progressed, it would be a process, and we only had one, and I won't mention the councillor's name, but done and dusted. But there was one that went through to the point where it came to council, we dealt with it, and we reported to the public the outcome of that.
Yeah.
And again, that one was leaking confidential information, and in essence, the councillor had to apologise publicly, which he did, and then had to do a bit of training of confidentiality.
We've had a couple here, and I don't go into them. I let the process of the law of council and the law of the court, so to speak, travel its way, and they deal with it the best they can. Because I think if I start interfering, then you're going to get those wallies that say, that person should be,
Yeah, and that's exactly what you said before. It could be someone targeting someone, and then if the media jumps on top of that, then it achieves what they're trying to achieve.
The media pointing fingers, blame the media. Don't do that, Mathew Dickerson, I tell you.
Breakfast is Tech Talk, Tech Talk, Tech Talk, Tech Talk.
I don't know whether you came across this, Mathew Dickerson, but I came across a nice little thing where a robotic company in Japan, the Japanese startup Donut Robotics, created a smart mask, a high-tech upgrade to standard face coverings. What it does is it can change the language you speak into the language of the recipient.
Well, I've brought a demo, Richard, and I always go, it's not the exact program, but there's another program that does the same thing. And I love live radio where we get to do a demo to see if it works. So I'm going to try and speak a bit of French here into the microphone,
and
I'll have
as French as I am.
my French is about 3 words, so I'll try that.
Can you say croissant?
That's about as French as I guess. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold
You've got a mobile.
I've got a mobile phone that I'm going to hold near the microphone. I'm going to speak French, and it's going to translate into English. So let's see how we go with this.
All right.
Bonjour, Richard. S'il vous plaît, merci.
Hello, Richard. Please, thank you.
Hey.
There you go.
That's a mobile app.
That's a mobile app, and this is exactly what Donut Robotics does.
Do you want to do something else?
I'll try speaking English now this time.
Okay.
Good morning, Richard. Hello to all your listeners on 2 to You.
Bonjour Richard, bonjour à tous vos auditeurs sur vous.
There you go.
Right,
so I've used that in countries around the world where I actually got it from a taxi driver in Japan. I found that app.
Was he asleep at the time?
No, but that's how.
From him, or did you pay for it?
No, it's actually a paid app. That one, it's a couple of dollars, I think. But that's
how much did you pay? $2.
About $2 for that app.
Really? And how long does it last?
That's forever. All of you keep using that app. That's it. Oh. But the Donut Robotics face mask does essentially the same thing. It's got a microphone in the face mask, and when you speak, it actually goes to your phone. So you've got to have a mobile phone with it, and then that will translate as you speak, and then you can have a two-way conversation. And as you can see there was a slight pause while it does the translation, but not too bad.
I mean, that's you can. It's quite clear, isn't it? That?
It's not bad, yeah. And the other
why
thing,
didn't we know about this sort of thing? That means if I travelled overseas, does it speak Italian?
it does speak. It's got something like 50
Right,
odd
well,
languages.
do something in Italian for me.
Oh, it takes a bit longer to get to a different one, and I don't want to waste time for your listeners. So we'll keep chatting, and I'll change it while we're chatting, if you like.
all right.
Yeah.
So this other one, this actual app, in conjunction with an app called C-Face Smart, it can transcribe diction, amplify the wearer's voice, and translate speech into 8 different languages. The cutouts on the front are vital for breathability as well. It can speak Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Indonesian, English, Spanish, French, and Japanese. Donut Robotics first developed the transition software for a robot called Cinnamon. That's that little one that I think it stands about a hip high, isn't it? This one.
Yeah. So
What have you changed?
I was just changing over to Italian there for you to do that.
So you have to do that.
I just have changed it. So if I just try and say the same sentence that I
so-
said
so
before.
good morning, how are you? Have a nice day in Italian.
Good morning. How are you, Richard? What's happening today?
Sono rimasto buongiorno, come stai Richard? Quello che sta succedendo oggi.
So how's your Italian? Was that right?
Yeah, it's pretty close, although that Italian that she's speaking is not colloquially Italian.
No, it's a bit robotic.
Yeah.
But what also happens, what I've used overseas, is that it puts the text on screen that I've said, so I know that it's actually got my words right, and then it gives the actual written version of it as well. So if someone can't quite understand the term, the way that the actual language is spoken, you can actually read it. So you can actually just show the phone to someone that you're speaking to. So it can go back and forth in that way as well. So
There was something that came out on one of the Google sites that I went. They translated this particular Maori word, and it ended up being pubic hair, which wasn't what the translator intended to do.
And that's the risk of those sort of ones. So when you do that translation,
Yeah.
you can see it as well, so you know that it's picking up your voice correctly to start with,
Yeah.
and the other person looking at it sometimes might not be able to understand it. And I've had this situation where they couldn't hear or they couldn't understand the spoken word of their language, but then when they read it on screen, it made sense to them.
That'd be great. I gather this application is also available for those who come from foreign countries to Australia.
That's right. There are a fair few apps like that. That's the one. That one there is particularly called Say Hi, but there's lots of apps like
Hi.
Say Hi,
Okay.
yeah. But there's lots of apps like that. Google has their own translate built into Google now, so there's lots of different ones.
Well, I stumbled over this. Did you know about this?
Yeah, I didn't know about Donut Robotics, that particular one, so I went and researched that one for you to see what the story was with that face mask. But essentially, yeah, these other different apps have been around for a few years now. And again, it's just about the ability to process, and that's what we're talking about here. There's 2 things that make this happen. One is the speed of the connection to the outside world. So it's actually not doing the translation on my phone, it's doing the translation on a server somewhere else. So it's actually sending my voice over the internet, over my data connection, going to a server, and then the speed of that server to be able to process that. So there's 2 things, the 2 advances, if you like, that make this available. That speed of connection and the processing power we've got now. Because it's a fair bit of work for a computer to take my spoken word and then translate that into another language and then send it back and say, here you go, I'll play it. And that did all that in the couple of seconds pause that we had there while it was translating.
Very good. So that's just an app that you can pay for.
It's an app,
and
yep,
it's
you
there
go and
forever.
download. And there's some other free ones. So I use that one because it seems to be about the best, but the other ones there that are free, but yeah, quite incredible. Not that we're travelling much at the moment,
Well,
of
I was
course.
going to say, once the barriers come down, what an ideal thing. Consult your tech. Of course, Access, you can do it if you want to. And you've got this app. You can just apply for
Just
it.
download that, download that for
Okay,
an
I want you
Android
to
phone.
say, goodbye, Richard and Matthew. Okay, can you do that?
I can
Goodbye,
do.
Richard and Matthew. Have a good day in Italian. Here it
Sure.
comes. Here we go.
Goodbye, Richard and Matthew, in Italian today.
Arrivederci Richard e Matteo italiani oggi.
How about that? I like the toy.